Ladies and gentlemen, within each of us lies a depth that is rarely seen but profoundly felt, a current of energy that shapes our actions, our choices, and our connections with the world. Today, we will explore the forces that awaken purpose, drive meaningful engagement, and allow the hidden hero within a man to emerge. These forces are subtle, archetypal, and timeless, yet their influence is tangible in every moment of effort, courage, and devotion. As we examine the inner instincts, the power of trust and recognition, the support of aspirations, and the choice of purpose over obligation, we will gain insight into how the deepest layers of the psyche shape behavior, relationships, and fulfillment. This is not merely a lesson on action. It is an invitation to understand the profound currents of human motivation and to awaken the latent potential within ourselves and those we care for. Within every human psyche lies a latent force, a current of energy that is often unrecognized yet profoundly influential. In men, this manifests as an instinctive drive to protect, to provide, and to contribute in a way that feels deeply significant. It is not an external ambition imposed by society or circumstance, but an inner call, a voice from the depths of the unconscious that seeks acknowledgement and expression. This instinct is rooted in the primal structure of the mind, where symbolic and archetypal patterns govern behavior, often beyond the reach of conscious reasoning. The man who is in touch with this inner force does not merely seek comfort or pleasure. He seeks purpose, a sense of alignment between his actions and the meaningful roles he perceives himself capable of fulfilling. This instinct is subtle, often emerging in small gestures and quiet moments rather than grand declarations. A man may show it when he anticipates a need before it is voiced, when he offers guidance without asserting dominance, or when he persists through challenges that demand courage and creativity. These actions are not performed for praise or reward. They are expressions of an internal alignment, a response to the archetypal pattern within that seeks to be heroic in the eyes of those he values. When he feels recognized and trusted, this inner force becomes energized, and his capacity for devotion and purposeful action expands. Yet, the hero instinct is delicate. It is easily suppressed when external pressures or dismissive attitudes dominate interactions. A man who is constantly directed, criticized, or undervalued may retreat from this instinct, leaving the latent force dormant. The inner drive to contribute meaningfully requires an environment where effort is acknowledged, where initiative is met with respect, and where the pursuit of purpose is supported rather than undermined. This recognition does not necessitate constant praise or overt admiration. It emerges in subtle confirmations that his presence, actions, and intentions matter. By attending to these cues, one activates a cycle of engagement where the inner hero instinct is not only awakened but sustained. The psychological roots of this force are ancient, tied to the survival imperatives of human evolution, yet they are equally connected to the symbolic structures that govern contemporary human relationships. The archetype of the hero, present in myth, literature, and collective imagination, is a manifestation of this inner drive. While stories portray heroic deeds in external arenas, battles fought, mountains climbed, or challenges overcome, the true hero instinct operates internally. It is the alignment of identity, intention, and action in pursuit of a purpose that transcends self-interest. When a man perceives that his efforts contribute to a greater meaning, that his presence and skills are valued, the inner hero instinct is not simply expressed in achievement, but in a profound sense of fulfillment and connection. Awakening this instinct involves more than requests or expectations. It requires creating circumstances that invite engagement without coercion. A man experiences this force when he senses trust, when he is allowed to step into roles that challenge and affirm him, and when his contributions are acknowledged as meaningful. The acknowledgement may take many forms: a word of appreciation, a moment of shared responsibility, or the silent recognition of effort over outcome. These moments resonate deeply with the psyche, echoing the symbolic narrative of the hero who rises to meet challenges for the sake of others. The inner hero instinct also interacts with other layers of the psyche, including the shadow and the persona. A man who has not reconciled his inner contradictions or faced the hidden aspects of his character may struggle to fully express this instinct. When he confronts fear, vulnerability, or inadequacy and integrates these experiences, the hero instinct emerges more fully, not as bravado, but as a measured, authentic capacity to act with courage, empathy, and dedication. It is in this integration of self that the instinct achieves its highest expression, shaping relationships, endeavors, and personal growth. Ultimately, the inner hero instinct is a manifestation of the human drive to find meaning through action that resonates beyond the self. It is nurtured when effort is recognized, trust is given, and potential is affirmed. It is diminished when effort is dismissed, initiative is blocked, or worth is measured solely by outcomes. Understanding this force allows one to engage more deeply with the men in their lives, not by manipulation or expectation, but by creating conditions in which the latent hero can awaken, flourish, and fulfill its profound archetypal purpose. Trust and recognition are the subtle yet profound forces that awaken the deeper layers of the human psyche, particularly in the context of relationships and meaningful engagement. Within every man exists an intrinsic desire to contribute, to act, and to manifest his capabilities in ways that matter. This latent drive, often called the inner hero instinct, is nourished not merely by opportunity, but by the presence of trust and the acknowledgement of effort. Trust is more than a simple belief in reliability. It is the psychological invitation to step forward without fear, to expose competence and vulnerability alike, and to align one's actions with the sense of purpose that resides in the unconscious mind. Recognition in parallel is the confirmation that these actions resonate, that the effort invested carries meaning beyond the immediate task, and that one's existence and contribution are valued. The interplay between trust and recognition is delicate yet transformative. When a man senses trust from those around him, he experiences a subtle expansion of self. The walls of doubt and hesitation soften, and he becomes willing to take initiative, to embrace responsibility, and to act courageously in pursuit of outcomes that are significant not merely to himself, but to others he respects and cares for. Trust signals the acceptance of both strengths and imperfections, a permission to engage fully without the fear of judgment or rejection. This psychological space allows latent qualities to emerge, from problem-solving creativity to acts of protection, guidance, and commitment. The recognition that follows, when authentic and attuned, reinforces these behaviors, establishing a feedback loop in which effort is both meaningful and validated. Recognition is not limited to verbal praise or overt accolades. It manifests in subtle forms, in attentive acknowledgement of effort, in the appreciation of persistence, and in the understanding that intentions matter as much as results. A man who perceives that his dedication is seen, that his choices are respected, and that his contributions carry weight, experiences a deep resonance within the self. This resonance is archetypal, rooted in patterns that have guided human behavior across time: the desire to be seen, to be counted, and to act in ways that affirm one's intrinsic worth. Recognition awakens the latent sense of significance, transforming routine actions into expressions of identity and purpose. Trust and recognition operate most powerfully in tandem. Trust alone may invite action, but without acknowledgement, the efforts can feel invisible, diminishing engagement and dampening the inner drive. Recognition without trust, conversely, may feel hollow, as the individual senses appreciation yet lacks the psychological freedom to act authentically. When both are present, they create a fertile environment in which the inner hero instinct flourishes. The man is not motivated by obligation, external reward, or superficial validation, but by the alignment of inner purpose with an external affirmation that his presence, choices, and efforts matter. The roots of this dynamic extend deep into the unconscious structures of the mind. In archetypal terms, Trust represents the safe passage into the unknown, a gateway that allows courage, skill, and initiative to surface. Recognition, by contrast, is the mirror that reflects the emerging qualities, confirming their value and embedding them within the narrative of self. Together, they provide the conditions for growth, self-realization, and relational depth. A man who experiences this synergy is more likely to embrace challenges, invest in long-term endeavors, and cultivate devotion not out of necessity, but from an authentic internal alignment. The psychological impact of trust and recognition also interacts with vulnerability. When a man is allowed to be imperfect, when mistakes are met with understanding rather than condemnation, trust deepens and recognition becomes more profound. This dynamic fosters resilience, as the individual learns to navigate both success and failure while maintaining engagement with the meaningful roles he is invited to inhabit. In essence, trust is the opening of the door, and recognition is the acknowledgement of the journey through it. The combination awakens latent capacities for courage, empathy, and commitment, enabling the emergence of a self that is integrated, purposeful, and relationally attuned. In practical terms, the cultivation of trust and recognition requires awareness, sensitivity, and consistency. It is not a strategy or technique, but an attunement to the psychological needs of the individual. Authentic listening, affirmation of effort, and the granting of autonomy are all expressions of trust. Observing and acknowledging contributions, celebrating persistence, and honoring intentions are expressions of recognition. When these forces are present, they do not simply influence behavior, they shape the unfolding narrative of the self, aligning conscious action with the deeper currents of identity, motivation, and relational purpose. Within the human psyche lies a profound drive towards self-realization, an innate urge to transform potential into actualized capability. In men, this manifests as the pursuit of aspirations, dreams, and ambitions that often extend beyond the mundane routines of daily life. These aspirations are not mere goals or material objectives. They are symbolic expressions of the deeper self, echoing the archetypal pattern of growth, mastery, and contribution. To support these aspirations is not simply to offer encouragement. It is to engage with the unconscious forces that shape identity, purpose, and relational depth. By recognizing and nurturing the inner striving, one provides the conditions for latent capacities to emerge, enabling the individual to align action with the deeper currents of meaning that guide human behavior. Supporting aspirations requires sensitivity to both the conscious and unconscious dimensions of desire. On the conscious level, it involves acknowledgement of specific goals, practical guidance, and affirmation of competence. On the unconscious level, it involves recognizing the symbolic significance of these pursuits, that each ambition, no matter how modest or grandiose, represents a step toward the integration of self, a manifestation of the inner hero archetype seeking expression. When a man perceives that his dreams are respected and taken seriously, he experiences validation not only of his current efforts, but of his essential worth, an acknowledgement that his journey matters in a broader, enduring context. The act of support is delicate, requiring balance. Too much intervention can undermine autonomy, diminishing the sense of personal achievement, while too little guidance may leave the individual feeling isolated or misunderstood. Support is most effective when it is attuned to the individual's rhythm, offering encouragement without pressure, affirmation without intrusion, and presence without overbearing control. In this manner, the aspirational journey becomes a shared space in which the individual can explore, struggle, and grow, knowing that his efforts are witnessed and valued. This recognition fosters resilience, allowing him to navigate obstacles with confidence and persistence, understanding that setbacks are not indicators of inadequacy, but integral parts of the unfolding process of self-realization. The symbolic dimension of support is equally significant. Aspirations often serve as conduits for the expression of the inner self, bridging the conscious and unconscious realms. By supporting these ambitions, one participates in a dynamic interplay of meaning, helping to nurture the emergence of qualities such as courage, creativity, and strategic insight. In essence, support transforms aspirations from abstract ideas into lived experiences that shape character, strengthen relational bonds, and activate latent potentials. When a man senses that his dreams are not only recognized but genuinely valued, he experiences an alignment between internal purpose and external validation, which reinforces his commitment and enhances his sense of agency. Support also requires attunement to the emotional undertones of aspiration. Dreams are rarely pursued without moments of doubt, fear, or hesitation. By providing an environment that allows for vulnerability, a space where questions and uncertainties can be expressed without judgment, one strengthens the underlying motivational structures that drive pursuit. Emotional resonance, encouragement in moments of hesitation, and acknowledgement of small achievements along the path all contribute to sustaining engagement and cultivating a deeper sense of purpose. Each supportive interaction reinforces the individual's belief in his own capacity to overcome challenges, integrate learning, and continue moving toward meaningful objectives. Furthermore, supporting aspirations is not merely about immediate outcomes or tangible success. It is about fostering the development of character and the realization of potential. Aspirations often embody the intersection of personal values, latent talents, and societal or relational responsibilities. By nurturing these pursuits, one participates in a process that shapes identity and deepens the individual's connection to purpose. The impact of such support extends beyond the fulfillment of singular goals. It strengthens the individual's capacity for intentional action, self-reflection, and relational contribution. Each step toward an aspiration, when recognized and supported, reinforces the integration of personal identity with the archetypal drive to act meaningfully in the world. In practical terms, support involves active engagement, listening with presence, acknowledging both effort and progress, providing encouragement that is specific rather than generic, and maintaining a stance of trust that allows the individual to take initiative and learn from experience. It is the combination of these actions that allows aspirations to evolve from abstract possibilities into tangible expressions of self, enabling a man to experience growth, agency, and the satisfaction of aligning inner purpose with outward action. In this way, support is not a passive response, but a dynamic facilitation of the journey toward realization, activating latent potentials and strengthening the ties between intention, effort, and meaning. Within the depths of the human psyche, there exists a profound distinction between actions driven by genuine purpose and those performed out of mere obligation. Purpose is a force that arises from the alignment of conscious intention with the underlying currents of the self, an expression of inner meaning that resonates with one's deepest values and archetypal patterns. Obligation, by contrast, is externally imposed or internally coerced, a response to expectation rather than to intrinsic motivation. When a man acts out of purpose, his efforts carry an energy and authenticity that extends beyond the superficial mechanics of duty. They reflect the engagement of his whole being, the integration of desire, skill, and conscious choice. Purpose is felt as a compelling inner call, a sense that actions matter not only for immediate outcomes, but for the shaping of character, identity, and relational connection. It is a force that motivates sustained effort even in the face of difficulty or uncertainty, because the action itself embodies significance. Obligation lacks this resonance. It may produce compliance, but it rarely generates creativity, dedication, or enduring commitment. Actions taken under obligation can feel heavy, restrained, or fragmented, as the psyche recognizes the absence of alignment between external demands and internal meaning. Purpose, in contrast, is experienced as expansive, energizing, and coherent, activating the latent capacities of the individual and inviting the expression of latent archetypal qualities such as courage, initiative, and perseverance. The difference between purpose and obligation is particularly visible in relationships where influence, engagement, and devotion are often shaped by the quality of inner motivation. When a man perceives that his actions are meaningful to those he values, that his efforts contribute to the growth, protection, or well-being of another, he experiences an internal alignment that transforms action into devotion. Obligation alone, however, generates compliance without resonance. A man may fulfill expectations or meet demands, but the energy that sustains heroism, initiative, and creativity remains dormant. The activation of purpose, therefore, is essential for the full expression of engagement, enabling the individual to act not because he must, but because he perceives the significance of his contribution. Purpose is cultivated through recognition, trust, and support. When a man senses that his efforts are valued not merely for the outcome, but for the intent and integrity behind them, the inner call to act gains momentum. Purpose thrives in an environment where autonomy is granted, where initiative is encouraged, and where the individual can navigate challenges with the freedom to express skill, insight, and creativity. Obligation, by contrast, often constrains initiative, suppresses intrinsic motivation, and diminishes the psychological reward of engagement. The psyche recognizes when action is imposed, even subtly, and responds by limiting the depth of involvement and the intensity of commitment. The psychological mechanisms underlying purpose involve both conscious and unconscious layers. Consciously, purpose is associated with goals, values, and self-determined intentions. Unconsciously, it resonates with archetypal patterns that shape identity and behavior, activating qualities such as the hero, the protector, or the creator. Actions taken in alignment with these patterns carry a symbolic weight, reinforcing the integration of the self and fostering the emergence of latent capacities. Obligation, in contrast, bypasses these archetypal structures, reducing activity to mechanical performance devoid of the resonance that sustains growth, creativity, and relational depth. Purpose also interacts with resilience and persistence. When a man is motivated by purpose, obstacles are experienced as opportunities for growth rather than as impediments. Challenges become meaningful tests, moments in which skill, courage, and character are exercised and refined. Obligation, however, may engender resistance, frustration, or disengagement, as the individual perceives effort as externally demanded rather than internally meaningful. The sustaining force of purpose lies in its capacity to connect action with identity, to make each step toward a goal a reflection of the individual's deeper self rather than a response to expectation or pressure. In the dynamics of relationships and collaboration, prioritizing purpose over obligation transforms interaction from transaction to resonance. A man who acts out of purpose invests not only his time and energy, but also his attention, creativity, and devotion. He experiences alignment between intention and action, between inner calling and outward behavior. This alignment fosters engagement that is authentic, sustained, and deeply connected to both personal meaning and relational significance. Obligation, lacking this resonance, produces surface-level compliance without the depth, initiative, or fulfillment that purpose inherently brings. Purpose, therefore, is the compass that guides action, the force that transforms effort into meaningful contribution, and the energy that awakens latent capacities within the psyche. It is the difference between mechanical performance and inspired engagement, between superficial compliance and authentic devotion. Actions aligned with purpose resonate not only with the individual, but with those around him, creating an interconnected pattern of significance that extends beyond immediate circumstances, activating the deeper, archetypal energies that shape character, relationships, and human fulfillment. As we conclude, remember that the forces we have explored are not theoretical abstractions. They are living currents within each human heart and mind. The inner hero instinct, the power of trust and recognition, the nurturing of aspirations, and the alignment of purpose over obligation all guide the unfolding of character, identity, and meaningful connection. By understanding and engaging with these forces, we do not simply influence behavior. We awaken latent capacities, foster devotion, and illuminate paths of fulfillment that resonate far beyond the surface of daily life. May you carry these insights into your relationships, your work, and your journey of self-realization, recognizing that within each person lies the potential for profound growth, purposeful action, and the emergence of the hero that waits to be called forth.